The first U.S. group level unit to fly into air combat. The first unit to destroy an enemy aircraft in World War I. They were the first equipped with P-38 Lockheed Lightning. They were Langley Air Force Base, the oldest U.S. Air Force base in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yolanda Drayton, and I'm going to tell you about Langley Air Force Base, now known as Joint Base Langley Eustis, a base's history that I am proud to be a part of. After today, you will know a little history about Langley Air Force Base, as well as the new 633rd Air Base Wing, my current duty station. I've told you what we are going to be discussing, so let's begin with how Langley came into existence. Langley came into existence in 1916 when the Army, the Navy, and the National Advisory Council of Aeronautics, now known as NASA, they needed a joint field, a proving ground. They needed it so that they could use it for flight tests and for experiments. It needed to be near an army post, it needed to be flat, it needed to be near water for over water flying, and it needed to be relatively clear for landing and takeoff of their aircrafts. So the Army decided to appoint a board of officers to search for a location. The officers, they often posed as hunters, they posed as fishermen, so that way nobody would know what they were doing. They were afraid that if the word got out that the government was trying to purchase new land, that it would cause a lot of commotion and a lot of chaos. So after long searches, after 15 locations, they finally found the perfect location, and it was called Langley Field. Langley Field, which is now called Langley Air Force Base, was named after American aviator pilot Samuel Pierpont Langley. In 1903, he was known for attempting to put into air a manned, heavier-than-air aircraft, but unfortunately, his vision and his idea did not take off. He had a little trouble with it. So it wasn't until 3 years later, in 1906, after his death, that somebody decided to do a rebuilt version of his aircraft, and it finally took off into the sky. I've told you a little history about Langley Air Force Base, which was back then called Langley Field. So let me give you a little history of the 633rd Air Base Wing, the original 633rd Air Base Wing. Having a distinguished history, it was activated on 14 March 1966. It was known then as the 633rd Combat Support Group, assigned to the 13th Air Force's Pacific Air Force's Pleiku Air Base, South Vietnam. On 1 October 1989, it was declared the host unit of Andersen Air Force Base, Guam. And I've had the privilege to be assigned there. It was my second assignment, and it's beautiful. During the Vietnam War, airmen of the 633rd Air Base Wing participated in various numbers of air offenses, air campaigns, like Operation Arclight, Linebacker, and Bullet Shot. On 1 October 1944, the 633rd Air Base Wing was inactivated, and it wasn't until 17 January of 2010 that the 9th Air Forces reactivated the 633rd Air Base Wing, and they declared it the host unit for Langley Air Force Base. On 29 January of 2010, the 633rd Air Base Wing became the link between Langley Air Force Base and U.S. Army Fort Eustis, which is today called Joint Base Langley Eustis. Ladies and gentlemen, I've given you some history about Langley Air Force Base. I've given you some history about the old 633rd Air Base Wing, and I've also told you about the inactivation and the reactivation of the new 633rd Air Base Wing. I hope that you've learned something today, and I hope that you have a better understanding as to why I am proud to be a part of this unique base's history, which is now called Joint Base Langley Eustis. This now concludes my speech, and I will now open the floor for any questions or comments. Thank you for your time.